It's a very sad issue in our nation, in the world. It's a big problem, especially because if you've known it, you're just so sure of that since your childhood. You don't really question it or give it another thought. It almost is like that door shut. Like, what are you talking about? Like that. It's not even like you would think to ask the question. You would just assume,
right.
yeah, oppressed. Yep, but one of those oppressed. I got it.
Yeah.
How's she covering her hair? Just hats? Do you wear wigs also, or wraps?
I have a shito. I have tejos, thick bandanas.
So he doesn't like any
hats.
of it.
Well, the hat issue, he doesn't mind because the sun can't hit my face because I get rashes.
Oh.
So he's okay with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But my mom found a hat with a partial wig, and she sent it to me, so I might start wearing that one.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
nice.
That you have, you please him and you please you're good to yourself as well.
Right. Yeah, that's very good. Okay, so let's start with some of the issues that, the questions that you had for me. So you wanted to not be upset. She said to me, I don't want to be grumpy. I'm just grumpy all the time. Now, let's just separate out issues that you might have in the marriage with the spirituality differences and issues that you might have just in general. That's just maybe one of your big issues. Right. What other issues are you dealing with as, in your marriage as a newlywed?
He always, since growing up in Israel, he thinks that sometimes I don't have my sources in hand, and he's like, well, it says here, here, here. He's always trying to prove me right, and I'm like, okay, so I get shut down sometimes when I'm trying to share something. Wait, he tries
to prove you right or wrong?
No, wrong, but yeah.
Wrong,
Yeah, wrong.
Oh, you mean from sources?
Like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
If she can't give him a source for why she's doing something in the religious aspect, he's going to basically say she's making it up because she can't prove it.
Right. Okay, fine.
Right.
Okay, what else? That's, again, more of the religious issue. Let's see if there's other issues outside of that issue.
It's only that, and it's usually when we're with each other, not when we're in company. Which is good, because that would be very embarrassing.
Yeah.
But I feel like, Leah, that's such a big one for other women, is that basically women in general, I find, and I find myself the same, and friends of mine, we sometimes, like we said last week, grow faster than our husbands. Mm-hmm. So if we can't give them a reason or a source or really why we want to do something, then they
can dismiss it.
Yeah, they
Easy
dismiss it. Because what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you adding new things? And it's like, no, but we want to. So how does a woman, and even with the hair covering, such a big thing with women is a woman wants to grow in her hair covering. So she wants to, let's say, wear the scarves more, or she wants to cut a wig that's super long so it's not so long. And the husband says, no, I want you looking a certain way.
Right.
And then how do you please him and still be true to yourself, which is, I think, that.
Very good. Okay.
Right.
Clear. Okay, very good. So I'm going to actually launch in to a very, I did a lot of homework on this because, I'm not a therapist, a psychiatrist, whatever, and you should turn to people who are, or people who are absolute experts in this area. All I can do is give over what our Masorah is, which I do know reasonably well, what our Masorah would have take would be on it, and then I go and check with rabbis. Am I saying this right? Am I coming off the right way? Am I doing this in a good, sincere? I'm sincere. That I can say, but you have to also say the right things. It's terrifying. It's terrifying to be in the position to give advice that could make or break a marriage, or that could. I'm trembling on this topic. I really am. I spoke with about 5 rabbis and 4 rebbitzins on this topic to make sure I'm not overstepping bounds and I'm giving good advice, both practically and logistically, but also that follows our Masorah. And it's very interesting because last week when
Sydney.
I was like, Sandra, no, it wasn't Sandra.
Yes,
last
Sydney.
week when Sydney asked the following question, I said, have you consulted a rabbi? And her answer, which totally got me. Like, it's like totally makes sense. Her answer was, Leah, I'm so afraid to ask a rabbi a question. You know why? Because if I ask him a question, it's either going to be he's going to make me feel closer to God or he's going to make me closer to my husband. And one's going to push the other one away. And that's terrifying. Like, oh my goodness, if you
like you have to choose between being close to
God or close to your husband,
because they're like mutually exclusive in some ways. It's
right. It's such a tragic thing. So I went and I explained to Rabbi Gershon Bess here in Los Angeles, and I said, you know, these women, they can't even turn to their rabbis. It's like the most painful, paralyzing feeling ever. They can't even turn to the, you know, Judaism. You know, everyone says, what's the first thing that you teach a kid, right? Everyone thinks, Shema Yisrael. So no. The first thing you teach a kid is Moshe, Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe. You know, the Torah was given. Why? So that a kid will understand that's what Judaism is following a Rav. It's not in a book. It's by a Rav. That's what we teach our children for the first sentence that they speak is not Shema Yisrael, which is mind-boggling, which is God is one. It's talking, we teach them the Torah was given to Moshe Rabbeinu at Har Sinai. Mm-hmm. Mind-boggling. Now, here these women, we've taken off their lifeline to God, to spirituality, not their lifeline to God, because as everybody knows what avodah zarah is, worshiping the rabbi or the people or whatever, not God himself. We all have a direct connection to God himself. But to understand how we interpret those, you need a Rav. So I said to Rabbi Bess, I said, here, these women, I said, you know, I spoke with 4 women in deep conversations about this in the last week, and all of them unanimously said, I'm sorry, Leah, I hear you're telling me I should speak to a rabbi. I can't. I said, so Rabbi Bess, please tell me, what is our Masorah for dealing with this kind of a situation? You know what his answer was? Ask a Rav. You're like,
oh,
that's our Masorah.
Like they just haven't found the right Rav.
That's it. And he said it's very important to, you know, when I told him that whole thing we covered last week with Sydney, where I said, you need to pre-sell the Rav and say, listen, I'm terrified to ask you this question because if I ask you this question, you're going to give me an answer, and the answer is going to terrify me, and you know whatever, and it's going to make things worse. And I need shalom bayis. That's the number one thing. And you know, I said to actually somebody very close with me, and I said this week at Shabbos, I said, you know, when a woman said to me that she was telling her husband, oh, it's time to wake up for shul. Oh, it's time to go daven. Mm-hmm. You've got your Chavrusa calling, you know, and she became his police, okay? And I said, you know what I told her? I told her, this is not your business. It's between this man and God himself. And she said, whoa. Wait a minute. Leah, excuse me. I know that my olam haba, my future in the world to come, my eternity is dependent on whether my husband's learning. We all learned that when we're from Beis Yaakov, when we were little kids. We knew this, right? She's a good point.
Yikes.
That's
right? What it feels like. It's like, oh.
Yeah, crushed. So here's the point. The point is, and you need to ask your local Orthodox Rav this question, which is, if I focus on shalom, and don't focus on him getting to shul on time and getting his chavrusa, how am I going to do after 120? What's my judgment?
Oh, you're in. You're good.
You're in.
You're in the pearly gates and you're in.
The hardest thing ever. It's called being a wife lishma, for the sake of being a wife. You're going after shalom in front of everything else. Now, you can ask your rabbi the subtle nuances, how that plays out in your life. But one thing you can be sure of, and the person is actually correct when they said, oh, when I say it's not your business, well, Leah, it really is my business. We need to swing the pendulum it's really not your business, his relationship. And if any part of it that is your business, if you tell him, it's time to go to shul now, that's going to backfire. Anything you say is going to backfire. You have to, and I'm going to explain to you how. You have to figure out, how do I get that information? How do I motivate him in that way without opening my mouth ever?
Yeah, so even not saying, Leah, I never had an issue. I wouldn't harass my husband to wake up. but it was so readable on my face, so I wouldn't say anything.
Right. It's
But
like
it was
the
so
unspoken
readable
pressure.
that I was so disappointed in him. That,
Right.
you know, like when he'd come down or whatever, or he'd walk into the house, he could read it all over my face, or he could read it in my actions, that I wasn't happy with him, that he didn't do what
the
I
spiritual
thought
thing. Right.
he needed to do spiritually.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you need
Right.
to be, and especially when we had kids. Because then it was like, you have boys, you have sons, you have to be an example.
Right,
You have to be a
right.
role model. What kind of role model are you that you sleep in or you're not doing? It was, I mean, it was, I didn't have to say anything.
Right. So, okay,
Right.
so here
Okay.
we're going to get
The daggers
get to
were-
this. Okay, but
yeah.
daggers shooting from your
Yeah.
eyes. Here's one thing you have to know. Ladies, how many of you can thumbs up or whatever, how many of you have ever been on a diet? Okay? We've all been on diets, right?
Yeah.
Okay, hello.
Way of life.
Oh no, we're naturally thin. Yes. Okay. So here, you are on a diet. Let's just pay a little scenario here. You're on a diet, and you've been really at it good for 10 days or whatever, and suddenly your kids had mint chocolate chip ice cream, and you know it's sitting right there in the fridge. Okay, in the freezer, right by you, and you're sitting there and you're doing the dishes, and that thing is just screaming at you from the fridge. From the freezer, okay? You say, you know what? I have been awesome for 10 days. I'm going to have 2 little spoonfuls.
I earned this.
I earned this. It'll make me feel better.
Yum. Someone said yum.
Yeah. It will stave
yum on
off.
Instagram
It'll
from me.
stave. Very good. Thank you. It'll stave off my, whatever. It's my little reward for working so hard. I'm not going to eat the whole box. Okay, maybe half the box. No, I'm not going to 2 bites. So you go in the freezer and you take that ice cream out. Let it sit on the counter and melt a little bit while you're finishing a few dishes. If you're able to do that, I don't know. I've never been able, but that's what you're supposed to do. Anyway, so you get the
That's
spoon.
what the microwave is for.
That's what the microwave is for. So that causes crystallines after. So it's not worth it if you're going to cheat
we're gonna
twice.
get
Oh my God. Look at you. You know exactly how to eat your ice cream.
Okay. Well, anyway, okay. So, but here's the thing. Now, you go and you got the ice cream right there, and you open the lid and you grab a spoon. And your husband walks in the room and he says, "What are you doing? You're on a diet. You're going to throw away the last 10 days of your life that you worked hard on this with that ice cream? Really now?" What is your feeling towards your husband at the current moment?
Throw the ice cream in his face. You fling the ice cream in his face.
Okay, right. Okay, so here's the thing. He really liked that comment. Here's the thing. Why are we so angry about that? Because it is none of his business. Right. We need to master ourselves. We need to be in charge of ourselves. We need to grow ourselves. We need the space to be able to do that. What we need to understand is any word that comes out of our mouth that beyond time to shul, weren't you gonna go get the kosher? Anything that we say is exactly, precisely like him walking in on us eating a diet, and that emotion that we feel when he would have done that is the exact emotion he feels like.
Right.
Okay.
And not my rabbi.
Like, though, with Chana's situation, she's dealing with like the opposite a little bit because she wants to be more spiritual, and
Right.
her husband is saying like
He's policing
He's kind
her.
of like policing her in the opposite. Like, go ahead and break your diet. You know you want to, and
Right,
she's like,
exactly.
"Excuse me, I'm trying to do a good thing here. Hi, I'm working, and you're just like." It's chocolate.
She's going like this.
Yeah, she's trying to grow.
Yeah,
She's trying to grow. That's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Because in her aspect also, like in the diet, you know, as much as you know that it's probably your husband's right and it's not good for you, here, her heart and her soul and her shama is telling her, you growing to be more spiritual, you improving on your midos and your mitzvos and getting closer to God and Hashem is exactly what Hashem wants. So why is your husband not allowing you that ability?
That's a question you're asking, or
Yes,
you're saying?
yes.
Okay.
I'm saying your whole inner self is wanting to grow. And we actually have somebody here, just because it said, Aliza's commenting that when your husbands don't do the right thing spiritually, they feel bad about it themselves, even if they don't show it. Deep down they do. So in a sense, they don't need us to make them feel they need our support. Which
Oh,
she's, right.
gorgeous, gorgeous.
She's referring to what you
Why
said.
are you going and
before, which is
being
great.
so holy, making me feel bad? Like,
Yeah, right.
And by the way, Chana, Mindy, who's on Instagram, is saying today's the first day she's watching this live and she's loving it. So thank you, Chana.
Thank
for
you,
coming
Chana.
on and bringing this very important topic out there. Yeah,
That's
super
great.
important.
Okay, so it's crucial. So my question for you, Chana, is: are you ever telling him what he should or shouldn't be doing?
When we were first married, I would comment. That was 1 month, and then I'm like, what am I doing? I don't like being told what to do.
Wow.
Good
You
on
like
ya.
that.
That's awesome.
That's
So
right.
what kinds of things would you say, just as an example to our listeners of what might be not the right thing to say? Okay, what kind of things would you do?
I would say, oh, did you prep the parashat for tonight? Are you prepping for a parashat tonight? Or I would just be nagging every day. She called it nagging. And I'm like, what? This is your duty. I did say, this is your duty. I'm eager to learn from you. And then he would be like, you can learn on your own. And I'm like, I know, but I want to hear from you. And then he would look at me like, okay, well, go learn.
So it kind of backfired on you.
Yes, but I was so excited. I didn't think I was like hurting him or making him feel uncomfortable.
Okay, so I'm going to share with you guys the amalgamation of all the data that I collected about this topic. I kind of put it in a, as my brain works in a step by 5 steps. And this is from years of me also dealing with these kinds of issues, but I really wanted to make sure I was doing justice to this topic, and to give you eights. Last week I told Sydney that she should write a book or whatever. Hopefully she's thinking about that, because I think it could be very helpful. I'm not sure. Book may not be the way to do it. I spoke with another Rav and he says, I don't know if a book, and then, you're saying things or divulging things about one person. I'm like, oh, I never thought of that. And it brings them not to do the right thing. So I don't know. She'd have to ask the appropriate gedolim, the big rabbis who, whether that's appropriate. But another Rav told me that he thinks there should be a Shabbaton or a weekend retreat where the women all go and they can commiserate with each other and discuss it and what different get advice, again, if it's not gossip, and have inspirational speakers, and then the guys can be in the other room playing ping pong or what, I don't know what they're doing, whatever. But anyway, obviously they could have some kind of an inspiring thing over there also. Obviously that would help. But what I want to give you right now are the 5 steps to success with spiritually challenged husbands. And these are really there's a couple of prerequisites for this, and you have to know whether these prerequisites are met or not. And Chana, I'm sorry to say, I'm going to have to be really straight with you. I don't know. One of the things I got clear is that when people are making life decisions, they need a rabbi to make those decisions with, not a therapist, not a talk show host, not a author of books. Is that even on the shot anymore? Yeah, a little bit. Okay,
they're author of books, marriage secrets.
Whatever. It needs to be in consultation with a rabbi who knows you well, because all the greatest advice in the world is worth nothing if God isn't in the picture. So it has to be a rabbi who knows you well. But I am going to say a few things, Chana, in my instruction in the class here that you really need to think seriously about. And I'm sorry to be the one to bear the news to you, but you really need to think. But this is serious. This is serious. And you need to consult with a Rav about it. So the prerequisite that I heard across the board from all these people is that if the woman wants to be religious, and the husband lets her and encourages her, the marriage can work.
Right.
If the woman wants to be more spiritual or is more spiritual, and the husband doesn't let her, the marriage won't work. I'm sorry to be the bearer of that news, but better to know the facts and know them now. And what that means is either you have to have a conversation, preferably with a third party or a therapist. And if he won't go, you don't have a choice, or a rabbi would be ideal if he would go, and lay it on the line and say, look, if we want this marriage to work, it's not with you putting me down and saying my hats look silly and putting down what I'm doing. And you had mentioned that he tries to get you to make phone calls on Shabbos. He's got someone on the line, says, oh, just have a few words, and he tries to do things like that to undermine your spirituality. The consensus of all of the rabbis and rebbitzins and therapists that I spoke to about this issue is the marriage will not make it. So if you can somehow in conversation get that to shift so that he's at least supportive, then there's certain things you can do. And, I'm going to give you lots of advice for that situation. If that's not the case, there isn't hope for the marriage. The other thing that that the Rabbanim said is that, especially before the first year of marriage, and this is true in Yerushalayim, I think this is kind of like the black and white, whatever, this is not a time to bring children into the world. Until you guys have your ducks lined up and on page.
Right, a solid foundation.
A solid foundation. It is not, if you already have kids, then there's a whole other thing. But if you're just starting a marriage like you are, and you've got, he's not supported, and there's several things you told me he did, like he comes home from work and you try to talk to him and he says, I don't feel like talking now. And then several hours go by and later you say, I really want to talk to you. And he said, well, maybe tomorrow. There's several things that he is doing in the marriage that give me grave concern, not just about his Yiddishkeit and his spirituality, but about his menschlichkeit, his being a nice person. So I'm not making judgments, and I'm not. I'm trying to talk straight so that you can get the help that you need. But going forward in the current situation, the criteria that I got across the board, if he is supportive of your keeping Torah and keeping halacha, great. It's hard, it's tough. We got lots of things you can do to make it a little bit easier, but that's a tough road. But you can make it, and you can be close, and you can be happy. If he's not supportive, nothing to talk about. So, or you have to figure out how to get him supportive. So that's important for you to know, and it's important for him to know that where this is heading ain't going to be good. And if he wants in on this marriage, then he's got to step up to the plate and start being supportive and encouraging. And, you can even develop sense of humor about it. Like, I know you don't want me to, go to this restaurant, but we're going to, we're going here for you, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be heavy and horrible and, whatever. It can be light.
I've met people who have developed a sense of humor about it. I know one girl who they have bunk beds because he doesn't want 2 beds and she needs 2 beds for,
wow,
to keep mitzvahs. And so they joke about their bunk beds.
Wow.
It's like, it can even come down to something as serious as that you can make it light. So I encourage you.
Yeah.
But meaning, Leah, just to clarify, so you're saying that the prerequisite needs to be in 2 areas. I just want to clarify to make sure that we're all getting it correctly. Yeah. Is that one, he needs to be supportive, but he doesn't need to be on board. Meaning he doesn't have to do anything or change anything. He just has to allow you to do your thing and to grow in your way and be encouraged. Like,
if you were into gardening and he wasn't, he would say, there's a garden sale over here, whatever. He can't say, why do you do gardening?
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So that's one.
And if he didn't like your gardening, it wouldn't be a make or break situation. But not liking this very crucial value in your life and this most important thing, that's a make or break deal, according to the rabbis that I spoke
And
with.
number 2 is that it's halachically, meaning, like, if he wants you to wear a longer sheitel and you want a shorter sheitel, that's not a halachic thing. Meaning you have to, what you're specifying is it has to be that according to halacha, he's 100%, like he's asking her to get on the phone on Shabbos. That's 100% according to halacha wrong.
Right.
So you're saying that's the difference, that he halachically is trying to get you to do things that are not acceptable.
Right, not trying to compromise on your level.
Meaning he's not asking, like if he would ask his wife, if a man would ask his wife to wear a V-neck top where for her to show cleavage and that she's exposed and completely against halacha, showing things that she shouldn't, then halachically you're saying that wouldn't If he wouldn't change,
that would put him in the category of a person who's
work.
not supporting, and it's not going to work.
Fine.
Now, I'm not saying he can't be changed. I don't know your husband at all. If he's an Israeli, he's a tough guy, probably can change. Maybe he'll see the light, and maybe, not see the light, but maybe he'll get it. Like, this is the cost of being married to this woman, is I have to support her.
Or maybe a tough, blunt conversation. Like, who knows? Maybe that'll do the trick, honestly.
Right,
we don't know.
Right. So, but the thing is, Chana, you have to remember, you are married for a blink of an eye. You're under a year married. You do not have the skills to communicate that to him in a way that's probably going to be effective. You need to bring somebody in, a third party. You got to, because unless you're a super shining star, which you sound very sweet and adorable, but that's a tough conversation for somebody who is a lot older than you, a lot more mature than you.
For a 10-year married, that's still an intense
It's a
conversation.
very intense and tough conversation, and it could come out like a threat. Like, if you don't support me, then I'm leaving. Now, God forbid. That's not what the conversation needs to be. The conversation needs to be more like I really want this to work. You can cry. It's an effective tool. You can cry. I really want this to work, but I just
be vulnerable
and I want it to work, but I don't know how. And I'm hearing that if you're not supportive, it's not going to work. And I don't know. Maybe you don't want to be supportive, and I'll makabel that. I'll take that in. I'll what's the word for that? I can live with that or whatever, and then maybe it's not going to work. That's not what I want. I want you. I want to spend my life with you.
Right.
But I've heard that if you're not that the key difference between couples that make it and couples who don't make it is this one factor. And without that, so I don't know. Anyway, my advice: get a third party, somebody who's wise. Talk to them not once, not twice, 5 times before you broach this conversation with your husband. Don't have this on the spur now that you're all burning with it. Oh, yes, I'm going to.
Right.
No. Take a deep breath.
Let it sit. Let it marinate.
Let it marinate. And have a confidant that you can discuss this with until you get it right. Write it down on paper if you're a writer. Put it in your phone, whatever. Get all the thoughts and ideas so that it goes well. And it could be that in conjunction with somebody, you actually write him a letter. A dear... What did you say? Your husband, Moshe?
Dear John.
Dear John letter, and you express it in that way and say, I love you from the bottom of my heart. Since the day we met, I've loved you, and I hear the things I appreciate about you, etc. However, XYZ, like that. So let's go on. And I just want you to mull over the fact that these are the facts. It was unequivocal. You do not bring children into a marriage where the spiritual ground isn't stable. Okay, if you already have children, any of the viewers who are watching this, if you already have children with it, okay, it's a whole other ball of wax. But before that, it's for sure you do not bring children into the world. And you need to speak to an Orthodox Rav to discuss what you can do to make sure you don't have children. But that's crucial to this. I can't state that strongly enough. I mean, I got huge, bold letters from a rabbi from Yerushalayim. Okay. Let me give you the 5 steps to spiritually challenged husbands. And anybody who has questions on this, you can type it in Facebook. Our teleconference people, hit *6. We'd love to talk to you. Or Facebook, you can write on Instagram.
So give us a like, give us a heart on Facebook. That's how we get up into people's feeds so that this can be viewed by more and more women and help more and more people. So you're doing a service by hitting that like button as many times as you want.
Thank you, Nathalie. Okay, fine. Okay, so step number 1, you need to have a rabbi to guide you. That's number 1. For spiritual and emotional support. I mean, to spiritually to answer your questions, but really you need someone to turn to. Every woman who is going through anything like this everybody needs to have a rabbi. Right. But in a situation like this, you have to have someone to guide you and to be an emotional support system for you. It keeps Hashem in the picture instead of you feeling so badly about your lot in life.
Right.
You also need to know from a rabbi, and again, I'm repeating my very important point, which is make sure to tell him, I'm afraid to ask you because I'm afraid what your answer is going to be. But you yourself need to know what is halacha and what is a chumrah. What is the Jewish law about this? And what is deraisa from Har Sinai, and what is derabbanan? What is from God? What is from the rabbis? What you can be lenient on? What you can't be lenient on? You'd be shocked for shalom bayis how far a rabbi would be willing to let you go on many things. Let you
have a little compromise or a little leniency for the sake of shalom. Until you ask the question, you never know, and you might be surprised.
Right, and you might be surprised. It's exactly right. And, with issues of nida and so forth, in intimacy, it's very, very crucial to know some of those laws, because that's very serious. Very, very. One rabbi told me a story. It made my hair stand on end, and he said, don't repeat the story, because it's just...
Thank you, Leila. We're all like, please tell us the story. No.
But the bottom line of it is to make sure you get your questions answered.
Yeah, my husband was actually told by his rabbi, who he turns to for all his questions, that when it comes to kashrus, how you keep your home, kashrus in the home, as well as nida, intimacy with your wife, he said, you find a different rabbi, because I'm very stringent, and I think that for your wife, she should find someone else to ask. So he himself told my husband, don't come to me for intimacy, because there are rabbis that have very big shoulders who will allow way more, and that will be very helpful for you. So he actually advised him that,
sometimes when you know it really well, when there's a very high rav, they know exactly where the lenience can be.
The bigger shoulders are the people who are the greater the rabbi, the more leniencies he knows about. Correct. He can understand, and you have to be big shoulders to be able to let that heter. So very important. Okay, fine. Number 2, you need to have a guider, like a therapist, a rebbitzin, a mentor. A therapist is probably good, because ladies, we're in this situation. We have to understand there's a mourning process of mourning who you thought you were going to be married. When I used to work with singles for a couple of decades, I worked with single people, and I don't anymore. I'm shalom bayis all the way. But when I used to work with them, people used to call, oh, it broke up. What do I do? Right? So the issue is, I always tell them this is the balm for the pain, is to understand you are mourning the loss of who you thought that person is, not who he is. Right. And they're like, oh, that's true. I did fantasize that all my problems would be solved, and that, whatever.
I would never feel lonely again.
I'd never feel lonely again.
And when you have high expectations of where you want them to be, and now those expectations are, you have
dashed. Yeah. So in this situation, there's a mourning process of where you thought your life was going, who you thought you were married to, all of that, and you need to deal with that. A therapist can really bring a lot of serenity on many of those issues. Now, there's one thing, I was warned this by several people, and one person who is a giant in relationships, and what she said to me is that it's very crucial that a therapist not be the person who is making the life decisions for you or the couple. It needs to be a rabbi. Now, the therapist can give her points and give her ideas and give her eitzes and her, ideas.
And support and personal development tools.
And her experience and all of that, but not to make the decision. That needs to be done with a rabbi, because God has to be living and breathing in everything that person does, and that is what's going to help you the most.
Does the therapist have to be because it's a spiritual issue? I'm thinking of when I, 4 years into my marriage, went into therapy, and she wasn't religious.
Right.
So I'm thinking, if it's a spiritual issue that you're grappling with your husband, does this therapist have to be a religious person, or at least respect and understand the religion? Because an irreligious person might not fully understand what exactly are you fighting about.
Why is this a big deal?
Why is this a big deal? And thinking about it, the therapist that I had, why it worked so well is because she wasn't religious herself, but she came from a background of religion, and she was also exposed to religion. So she very much understood that it was important for us to maintain the religious boundaries constantly through therapy.
Right.
But many of them might ask you to
compromise.
Is that a thing?
So that's part of it. That's a little bit of a different issue than this one. But the issue about that, sometimes it takes 3 or 4 tries to get the therapist that you can click with, okay? Sometimes you have, and you told me we had a certain time limit because last time we got cut off.
Yes, we just have to look at, we have 15 minutes.
Okay, and then I have to really end. That's so weird. I used to be able to go an hour and 5.
These topics are getting more intense.
I'm telling you. Okay, so the thing is that for sometimes it takes quite a while to find somebody who you really click with. And so if it's couples therapy, you might go, she likes him, he doesn't. He likes her, she likes, whatever. So it can be challenging. It's part of the process. I don't know why it is that way. It is that way. You just have to stick it out until you find the right one and just be determined. Be determined, because that person can be very, very instrumental in your figuring this out and coming to a place where you can create joy in your marriage. Now, there is one caveat, and it was given to me over by a big Rebbitzin on the East Coast, and she said that it's crucial, because her husband sees a lot of cases like this, it's crucial that there is a 3-way conversation. The rabbi, the therapist, and the couple or the woman. Wow. Depending if the man will go. If he'll go, better. If he won't, and it's just the woman, in other words, the woman comes and says, oh, my rabbi said this. She said it wrong. Then the therapist says this, and she goes back to the rabbi, and the therapist said one thing. What's that game? Telephone?
Yeah, broken telephone.
Telephone.
Yeah.
By the time it gets back, and now you're a mess because nothing is clear. Mm-hmm. There has to be a phone call between the rabbi or therapist. The rabbi and the therapist, or the rabbi and the rebbitzin or mentor or whatever, that conversation needs to happen so that the loop is fully circular. And they can talk about things of how to help you in a way with, I noticed that she doesn't keep a lot of her commitments in life anyway. And then the rabbi's like, oh, that makes sense. I didn't realize. Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to tell her, rather than taking on all these other responsibilities, she should just focus on this. Whatever it is. I'm making stuff up, but I'm just saying that conversation and that partnership with them is crucial. Okay, fine. Number 3. We covered this a little bit last week, but I wanted to expound on it because I felt after the class, remember I told Nachama, I said, I meant to go into this in detail, and here is my chance. Every couple in any situation, but particularly in this situation, needs to have a bulletproof plan for every potential conflict that could arise.
That sounds like a lot, Leah.
That sounds like a lot. Yeah.
A bulletproof plan for every possible thing that could go wrong. No pressure.
No pressure. Now, good. Okay, so now, Chana, I'm going to give you a list, okay? The thing about this list is that you it might take a solid month of living life and saying, oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one.
Right.
You're not going to sit down and spend an hour and then do this and it'll be done. You're going to think, oh yeah, another potential. But once these are ironed out, I'm telling you, now you've got peace and serenity. This is Mesilas Yesharim 101, which is what Paths of the Just, right?
Yeah, Paths of the Just.
If anyone look in that book and read that book, it's unbelievable. It's our guiding light for decades of Musar and character development. But anyway, one of the things, when it's talking about the most important way, you can either just live your life by the spur of the moment, seat of the pants, boo, I just fly, You're always going to, end up living a life. Nothing's going to go as planned because there is no plan.
Right, you're going to get constantly blindsided.
Or you can think. Think and plan and say, oh, if I do this, the simplest example. Every day at 5:00, we know when our husband walks through the door, we're going to snap. We just know. It's just how it. What can I take a nap? Not really. Good luck with that.
Mm-hmm.
Can I eat something? Can I have a bag of nuts? Okay, breaks my diet a little bit. A little bag of nuts, whatever, is going to make all the difference. Okay. Planning ahead smooths it out. So that's what we're going to work on. Okay, so here's a list of potential conflicts to get you started. Each one of these individually creates tension in the home. Put together, they make the marriage unbearable. Okay? So, number 1, how are we going to teach our kids Are we going to raise them in a Jewish household? Are we not going to raise them, like that? What's it going to be? It's not every time, summer camp comes around and the husband's like, oh, let's send to cooking class at the local pig farm. No, it's whatever, It's like,
I like how that was like so dramatic.
But you know what I mean? Like, no, are we going to send to Jewish camps during the summer or not? Are we sending to Jewish schools? What are we going to do about intimacy issues coming every 2 weeks and whatever? How are we going to handle that? It can't be attention every month. It can't, ladies. Right. It cannot be attention every month. Tension, TENSION.
Yeah, you spelled that right.
That's right. Okay, so it can't be this conflict every month. You have to get it down.
Wait, but Leigh, you're saying to do this before you get married?
That would be good.
I mean, no, I'm saying once you're married, you're saying you sit down and you think of what's the tension?
Your husband's not spiritually motivated or on the map, or he's in a different place than you, in a very different place, or even in a similar. And you are barreling along religiously, even if it's the other way around. It should be this way, but this is what the topic we're talking about right now. Having a clarity about each one of these issues preemptively.
Right, okay.
Before it
make
gets
it your
a blow
business
up.
to make a tensions list.
There you go.
So you
tensions
can
list.
have
Yeah, that's good.
plan.
Yeah, I like that. Tensions list. So let's just talk about them. So food in the house. Can he bring anything into the house? No? Yes? What's it going to be?
No.
No.
She's like, we know the answer to this.
Well, I had a woman who her husband brought food into the house. He thought the hechsher was whatever. And she did possibly the worst thing, which is she screamed and yelled and howled. And then, oy, oy, oy. What do you think that's going to help? Like, okay, now he's going to listen. Now he's going to want to be doing things for you. But here's the worst. He leaves the room. She goes and pulls every item of food out of the cupboard to check it. In case he brought anything else in. And he walks back in and sees everything on all the counters and on the floor of every piece of food.
Because he's like, my wife is completely insane.
She's insane. And what?
No. He's not thinking that. He's feeling so bad. Like, what does she think of me?
What does she think?
She doesn't trust me at all anymore.
Yeah, she literally thinks that I'm such an idiot that all I'm doing is bringing in
that I'm bad and evil.
Yeah,
and
one
horrible.
mistake and he's like, that's
he's
it.
Charred. He's charred.
Well, good thing that he does check the hechshers, and we only have a list of the ones that come home.
So you have an understanding in this area.
See?
That's amazing.
You got a plan. Okay, let me go on. Okay, so what's going to be with food in the house? What's going to be about going to restaurants? What are we going to do on Shabbat? Are you going to be here, there? What's happening? What's going to be on holidays? Are you encouraging the kids? Are we going to encourage them to go to Minyan? Are we not going to encourage them? What schools for the kids? We need to get this handled. If he takes the kids out for food, only kosher places. You have to know this. And insist on certain things. Movies and TV, if he's watching them, if he's not watching them, if he is watching them, is he allowed to talk about them? Does he talk about sports or things that bother you at the table, at the Shabbos table? All of these things, rather than you're at the Shabbos table and he says, did you hear, I don't know, all the movie stars or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Clark Kent, let's say, whatever, somebody, I don't want to out anybody. But anyway, so he starts talking about some movie star and how they're traveling to whatever, and you're like, I don't care about this. I don't want my kids to care about this. I don't want this discussion on Shabbos. And you're just sitting there and steam is coming out of your ears. Right. Really, you feel like crying. Why isn't he giving a Devar Torah? Instead, he's talking about some movie star. We're like, really? If you don't have a preemptive plan about this, you could see the tension. You're just sitting there gritting your teeth so hard that you break them. You have to have a plan. Like, what's our agreement going to be? Keeping it is another thing. Okay, then he makes a mistake.
Oh my gosh, I was literally just going to say that because we made a plan like that exactly for that at the Shabbos table when our kids are there and guests and everything. What the conversation should be like, and many times our guests are you're gonna throw it. Oh my God! I'm talking. Throw it at me. No. And you you've got the
Wait a
the
second.
noise.
Wait, we have a
like
thing.
what
We're
is happening?
I'm ducking. I'm
Oh, you're
ducking.
ducking.
Where's
I'll
the
do it
duck
over there.
noise?
Hold on a second. Wait, and Hannah has no idea what's going on.
Yeah,
we
she has a water bottle.
We trying water bottle. Hold on a
when
second. There we
she's
go.
done.
Oh wait, I did it.
Seriously, did not think that. Okay.
I'm sorry. You were in the middle of a beautiful point.
No,
What can I do?
and many
Okay.
of our guests that are there
Yeah.
are bringing up these conversations, okay? Because they're not. Many of their guests are from all different walks of life, and
Good for you.
they don't know our
Very nice.
sort of what we want for our home. So they're bringing up this conversation. My husband is sort of stuck in the middle because he wants to make them feel warm and accepted and loving, and he wants to also do what I am saying. And sometimes they'll get into these conversations, and then I'll get up and walk to the kitchen, and I sort of try to get his attention,
this.
and I'm doing things, and I'm like with my eyes, and he's looking at me, and he's like, and then he really feels so bad about that he's couldn't handle it, and it's very hard.
You mean he feels bad?
Yeah.
So the thing is, you can kick him under the
hard.
table, but then he'll say, "Why
Why did you
kicking me
kick
under
me
the
under the
table?"
Yes, he does that, and I'm like, hello,
Yeah,
no,
right, yes,
that
okay,
was
fine.
just
Yeah.
because-
Oh, I just there's a dog in there. I thought, yeah, whatever. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so fine. But the main thing is, all of the things I just mentioned, get it clear. Get it clear. What are we going to do? And it could be for even your husband or whatever who wants to do what you want to do, but just can't figure out how to do it. Think of plan of like he'll say, "Oh, did you bring out the fish, or did you want to,
A
like
code word
as
or
a
something.
code word, something
To change
you know,
it.
to
Okay.
change it and say, oh, I heard something on the shear, something,
Okay.
or one particular topic you go to. Anyway, the point is having a plan reduces tension because we all know. Hannah, I'm sure you can bear this out. We all know that in the heat of the moment, whatever we do is usually wrong. Okay, we don't have good instincts for
We're reacting
we're
instead of responding.
Thank you. It just means we're reacting instead of acting. You know, we go into this whole mode of
knee-jerk.
knee-jerk reaction. So preemptive conversations, great. Things in the heat of the moment always go worse. Okay, let's go to number 4. Oh my gosh, I've got 4 minutes.
Got 5. Yep.
Okay. Number 4, the wife needs to be on an appreciation mission. An appreciation mission. That means she needs to make a list and constantly keep in her mind before her every good quality of her husband. Why she appreciates him, why she married him in the first place, what are his good qualities, what do other people think of him, goodly, well, right, whatever.
Goodly is a new word.
Goodly. Okay, fine. What do they think of him? Anything she can, make a whole list of things she likes and appreciates about him and focus on that.
And whenever you see something that you don't like, you run and you find your list and you pick something and you picture it in your mind like it's happening.
That's exactly it. So it's very funny because I was talking to one of the women this week, and I said, so what you need to do is you need to accept him the way he is. How do I say it? Hold on. And not care at all if he's frum or not. You need to accept him. And she said, oh, if I accept him as he is, even that he's not frum, then he'll be frum. Lady!
Actually, that wasn't.
Yeah, it's like, then he'll be frum if I accept that he isn't frum. Okay, so the issue is, here's what, right? Here's the issue. It's a matter of respecting him, accepting him, admiring him, appreciating all his good qualities, and zipping your lip about his Yiddishkeit, about his spirituality, 100% of the time.
Duct tape, Leah. You've got it waiting right
Thank
there.
you. Duct tape.
We have our duct tape on hand
Yeah,
for
duct
just
tape.
such
Quick.
occasion.
Just like duct tape,
Yeah.
okay?
Can I say something really quickly?
Please.
Yesterday when we were having dinner, I mentioned to him, we were having a good conversation, and I told him, I love you unconditionally, and I know you love me too, and we are going to be okay with Hashem's help. And he's like, yeah, we are.
Wow. That is so pretty.
That's
sweet.
That is so pretty. And Esme is, we have an Instagrammer who just said, wow, this is so real. So this is a topic I think that
Thanks,
really...
Esme. Thank you for sharing it. We really appreciate it.
And hold that in your mind also. I know you are already, but like that's one of those things that you can just hold on to. Yeah. Take it out when you need it.
Okay. What? Oh, I have to go fast. Okay. So just want you to know, even one comment about his observance and his frumkeit or anything he's doing, one comment is going to backfire. So this is a zero
Right.
tolerance policy. This is like duct tape to the max. Nothing comes out of your mouth about his Yiddishkeit. If you think of him as bad and evil because he's not being firm, and we're trained in this. We walk around and we say, "Oh, look at that magazine cover." We're trained to be the sieves of our family and to separate what's holy and what's not holy. And here in our own home is somebody who's not holy. He's not the one to judge. Judge everything else. Teach your kids everything else. But with him, nothing. You can think it, okay? You can think it. You can feel it. Nothing comes out of your mouth. Nothing, ever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not even in a time when you're having a sweet moment. You say, gosh, when we first got married, I really had hoped you'd be religious, but whatever, but I'm okay with it. No,
Nothing.
No, nothing, zero.
Yeah.
Okay.
Devora actually on Facebook says that work on yourself because you can't control anything or anyone else other than yourself.
God bless her. She's
Yeah.
beautiful, gorgeous. It's exactly right. And here's the one last word about this, about needing to appreciation mission, is that if you make him evil for who he is being, right, and you're mad at him and he's evil and whatever, his only logical thing is to think, I'm not evil. I know she's giving me all these vibes and saying and doing and actions. Everything show that she thinks I'm bad and horrible and evil. Mm-hmm. I know myself I'm not. So that must be that she is evil. And worse yet, the religion is evil. They have nowhere else to go with it.
Wow.
Nowhere else to
At
go
that
with
point,
it.
it's like kind of a chilul Hashem,
Yeah.
in a way, inside your own home.
Just a quick thing, because our Instagrammers, we only have a minute left, and Leah has one more, so it's going to probably take longer than that. Know that all of our shows are posted onto Facebook and stay on for forever. So even though we're going to get cut off, we love you guys. We want you to come back on. We're like literally saying bye now, but because Leah has that number 0.5 that we want to cover. But know that you can go and check it out on Facebook, and you can watch this for 24 hours.
Yeah, on Instagram, but also you can. But
it's going to be cut up. I'm sorry, Instagram's going to be cut up. So
gonna
just
have
Facebook.
Okay, so just Facebook. Okay, we
Yeah.
love you guys. Thanks for being with us.
No joke.
Okay. Oh,
And we had a question from one of them. What if he wants you to change to be like him? And then another one, Malka, who said, so does that mean it's okay to live separate spiritual lives? How does the healthy couple find a healthy medium? And Eliza said, please tell Chana we're thinking of her and davening for her success. By the way, Malka and Esme, we are going to answer those questions as soon as Leah covers number 5. So go check out our Facebook afterwards to find the answer.
I'm sorry, sweetie pies. I'm so grateful. They're still on.
They're still on. They're still on. They've got 49 seconds.
I'm so sorry.
Keep going, and then we'll answer their questions afterwards.
Okay, fine. Okay, so, okay, so number 5. Think inspiration, not policeman. You want your husband to get inspired. You're not his policeman. Policewoman, I guess it would be.
Police officer, if we want to be
yes,
politically
correct. Right, okay, good. There you go. So here's the thing. We have to figure out ways to carefully entice your husband to be inspired. So again, remember in the last one, we're just appreciating for who he is. We're sharing with him that, you're funny and that we love you and all of the things. All the feedback he's getting from us is that we're totally approving everything he does. Anything we don't approve, he knows anyway. We're keeping it to ourselves. We're using the duct tape. Okay. So now, when it comes to being his policeman, you're not his policeman. You want to think in your head of ways to inspire him. So if there's a particular rabbi who he happens to like, he's not keeping very much, but he always liked this guy, and he always laughed when this guy was, around. Have that guy for Shabbos Marafin. If there is a lecture and he's always liked that one, get a babysitter, go with friends. If you think you're going to say, want to go see so-and-so speak, give a lecture, he's probably going to say, nah, not for me. But if you say, hey, Betsy and Sally and Bill and Joe and all our friends are going and we're going out to dinner after, you want to come? Does that sound of interest to you? I can just bow out, or we can go. I thought it would be kind of fun. If he thinks you're shoving it down his throat is not going to work. But find ways to be inspiring him. Very clever. Find a charity organization in your neighborhood, like Tomchei Shabbos or something, where they're doing something that's holy and spiritual and charitable. Become active members in it. Start, filling food baskets and giving them out for Shabbos or for, go visit the sick. Something that that he will stick up with or he'll like. So he's surrounded by people who are inspiring types of people. And most importantly, as one of our Facebook or Instagram people said, husband knows what he's doing isn't the right thing. He feels guilty and bad about it himself. Mm-hmm. This gives him a level of esteem and strength to feel good about himself because he's doing something. He's doing good. Doing good makes you feel good. Right. So again, we want to be his inspiration and not his police.
That's also a good gateway, like doing something like community service type related, but that is religiously related. So his hands are doing a mitzvah that he could make it seem, and it's like a good gateway. Like, oh, this is just what you're supposed to do as a good person, but it is like a real mitzvah that he's physically involved in now. Right. Like, I don't know if that's even possible to do, but I think it's a really good idea.
Please try it. I'm sure you guys
He does deliver a meal to an older gentleman in town that's Jewish.
Oh, see, that's beautiful. See, there's hope. You know what I'm saying? There's hope that he's got that connection. and there's mitzvahs that he does. That's mitzvahs build mitzvahs, and But as we have Bini Sarah, we have a special woman's intuition. I just thought of a couple here, but you want to use your creativity. Think of what's going to inspire him without it seeming like you're forcing him to be different than he is.
Right.
Okay, so that's very, very crucial to it.
And also know, in your trying to inspire him, I would say don't make that your primary goal in what you're doing. Because I know it could be easy to get wrapped up in, I gotta do this and make this seem appealing and this is beautiful. And then if he's not inspired,
but that sounds like you would exhaust yourself.
That's exactly it.
Exactly. So do it. Do it for yourself. Say, I'm going to love this, and in the process, it's going to inspire my husband with the help of Hashem. But firstly, I'm connecting. I'm loving it, and he's gonna see that I'm genuine, and this is me.
Yeah.
This is me. Take it or leave
it. So now I just want to end with one final thought that I thought was gorgeous, which is that there's a level of letting go in your own heart and your own mind of letting him appreciate spirituality and Yiddishkeit from a distance. Let him step back. If he feels like you're pulling in the strings and the whatever, he's going to resist.
Reeling
him in. If you just enjoy Yiddishkeit, grow with it, be spiritual without making him feel guilty, without making him feel like he should be, but make it so enjoyable and enticing. Let him appreciate it from a distance for a while. Let him just do that. Let him be over there, and he'll be like, that's gives you the best milieu, the best atmosphere for Shalom Bayis and for Mirat Hashem, everybody in the marriage to grow.
Yeah, and Chana, wear that hat shaitel and let us know how that goes.
Let us know how it goes.
We're gonna be.
We want you back on.
Yeah. Okay, Chana, thank you so much for bringing up these beautiful topics to the show. We're very grateful to you, and Hashem should bench you and your husband with Shalom Bayis, and everything should go well.
Amen.
This is Ladies Talk Show. Leah Richheimer. We'll see you next week.